Before I start, take a second to subscribe, leave a like, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. It really helps this story reach the right people. I hadn't heard my sister's voice in almost 3 years when she called me that night. Not a text. Not a message forwarded through family gossip. An actual call. At 11:47 p.m. I remember staring at my phone while it buzzed on the kitchen counter, lighting up the dark apartment like it was trying to expose something I'd buried. Her name sat there, unmoving, heavy. As if it knew it didn't belong in my life anymore. Naomi. My younger sister. The girl who disappeared the moment my life fell apart. The girl who swore she'd always have my back. I let it ring. Once. Twice. 3 times. I told myself I didn't care. That I'd healed. That silence had become my language when it came to her. But some wounds don't close. They just learn how to stay quiet. So I answered. Hello. My voice sounded smaller than I expected. There was a pause on the other end. Breathing. Uneven. Like she was deciding which version of herself to hand me. It's me, she said, softly. As if I wouldn't recognize the voice that used to sleep in the same bed as me during thunderstorms. I didn't respond right away. I know it's late, she continued. I didn't know who else to call. That sentence did something to me. It slid under my ribs and pressed against an old memory of being needed. Of being the older sister. The protector. The one who fixed things. What do you want, Naomi? I finally asked. Another pause. Longer this time. I need a place to stay. There it was. No apology. No explanation. Just need. She said she'd left her apartment. Said her job wasn't safe anymore. Said she just needed a few weeks. Enough time to get back on her feet. I should have said no. I should have remembered the last time I needed her. But instead, I found myself staring at the empty chair across from me, the one I never used, and imagining her sitting there like nothing had ever been broken. Fine, I said. You can stay here. Temporarily. Her relief was instant. Too instant. Thank you, she whispered. I knew you wouldn't turn me away. That should have been my first warning. She arrived 2 days later with one suitcase and a smile that didn't reach her eyes. I watched her from the doorway as she stood in the hallway, scanning my apartment like she was committing it to memory. Or worse, checking for something. You've changed, she said. So have you, I replied. She laughed lightly, but her eyes kept moving. I showed her the guest room. Clean sheets. Neutral walls. No personal photos. A space that didn't ask questions. She dropped her suitcase and hugged me without asking. Her arms were tight. Desperate. For a moment, I let myself pretend it meant love. But when she pulled away, her expression reset too fast. Like a mask snapping back into place. That night, we ate dinner in near silence. She asked polite questions. I gave short answers. We circled around the past like it was radioactive. Then she asked something strange. Do you still lock your bedroom door at night? My fork froze midair. Why? She shrugged. Just wondering. You always used to. I forced a smile. Some habits don't die. She nodded slowly, as if confirming something to herself. The first week passed quietly. Too quietly. She didn't go out much. Didn't make phone calls. Didn't scroll on social media. Mostly, she sat in the living room when she thought I wasn't watching, staring at nothing. At night, I heard her walking around. Soft steps. Pauses outside my door. Once, I opened it suddenly. She jumped. "Oh, sorry," she said quickly. I couldn't sleep. She went back to her room. Closed the door. But I stayed awake for hours, listening. Something about her presence felt intentional. Like she hadn't just ended up here. Then, one morning, I noticed something that made my stomach tighten. My bedroom window, slightly open. I never opened it. When I asked her about it, she smiled. Probably just the wind. But that night, as I lay in bed, I realized something else. My journal, the one I kept hidden under my mattress, had been moved. Just an inch. Enough to tell me someone had touched it. I didn't confront her. Not yet. Because deep down, a colder thought was forming. Naomi didn't come here to be safe. She came here because she was looking for something. And whatever it was, it had something to do with me. If this tension is already crawling under your skin, make sure you're subscribed and leave a like. It helps these stories keep coming. Because this was only the beginning. I didn't sleep after that. I lay there, staring at the ceiling, replaying every sound I'd heard since Naomi arrived. Every footstep. Every pause outside my door. Every moment she'd looked at me a second too long, like she was measuring something I couldn't see. By morning, I had convinced myself of two things. 1, she had touched my journal. 2, she hadn't done it by accident. I waited until I heard the shower running in the guest bathroom before slipping into my bedroom and pulling the journal out. My hands were shaking. I flipped through the pages, scanning for creases, smudges, fingerprints. Everything was still there. The entries about my divorce. The nightmares. The things I'd never said out loud about what really happened the night my life cracked open. But one page near the middle, had a faint bend at the corner. As if someone had stopped there. Lingered. That page talked about him. About the man Naomi swore she hated. The same man she told me to leave behind forever. I closed the journal and slid it back under the mattress, my heart beating like it was trying to escape me. When she came out of the bathroom, she was humming. That hum followed me all day. Naomi started asking questions after that. Small ones. Casual ones. Questions that sounded harmless unless you stacked them together and stepped back. What time do you usually get home? Do your neighbors keep to themselves? Do you still talk to anyone from back then? Back then. I told her no. I told her not really. I told her she worried too much. She smiled every time. "I'd just like to know things," she said. "It makes me feel safe." But the way she said safe made my skin itch. That Friday, I came home early. I hadn't planned to. But something in my chest told me to turn the car around halfway through the drive. A pressure. A pull. When I unlocked the door, the apartment was quiet. Too quiet. Naomi's suitcase was open in the guest room, clothes spread across the bed like she'd been digging through it. But she wasn't there. I walked into the living room. My laptop was open. On my desk. I hadn't left it that way. The screen glowed with a paused video. Grainy. Black and white. A timestamp burned into the corner. My breath caught when I recognized it. Security footage. From years ago. From a place that no longer existed. My fingers trembled as I pressed play. The camera showed a hallway. Narrow. Dim. I watched a younger version of myself step into frame, followed by him. And then I slammed the laptop shut. I stood there, shaking, staring at the dark screen as if it might still be watching me back. Naomi's voice came from behind me. "You weren't supposed to see that yet." I turned slowly. She leaned against the doorway, arms crossed, calm. Too calm. Where did you get that? I asked. She tilted her head. You really don't remember how much you told me. My mouth went dry. You said you deleted everything, she continued. You said no one could ever know. I was drunk, I whispered. I was broken. She stepped closer. And I listened, she said softly. Because that's what sisters do. I wanted to scream at her. Ask her why she had it. Ask her what she planned to do. But before I could speak, she smiled. You don't need to worry, she said. I didn't come here to hurt you. Her hand rested on the laptop. I came here to finish something. If you're feeling that tightness in your chest right now, you're not alone. Make sure you're subscribed, this story only gets darker from here. I didn't confront her. That might be the part that haunts me the most now. I nodded. I forced my face into something neutral. I let her believe I was still the older sister who smoothed things over, who didn't push, who didn't ask the questions that could crack a room open. Finish what? I asked calmly. Naomi's eyes searched my face, as if she were checking whether I deserved the truth yet. Closure, she said. For both of us. She closed the laptop gently, almost tenderly, then carried it back to my desk like nothing had happened. Like she hadn't just reached into the darkest part of my past and pulled something out to let it breathe again. That night, I locked my bedroom door. I told myself it was temporary. I told myself I was being cautious, not afraid. But fear has a way of recognizing itself. The next few days felt like a performance. Naomi cooked dinner. She laughed at my jokes. She told stories about her new life, vague stories with no names, no places, no proof. Every so often, she'd slip. A comment about a detail she shouldn't know. A reference to something I'd never told her directly. Once, she mentioned a scar on my shoulder. You never showed me that, I said. She blinked. Just once. You told me about it, she replied. I didn't. I started hiding things. Moving my journal. Changing passwords. Deleting old files I didn't even remember creating. And still, she stayed one step ahead. One evening, as we watched TV in silence, she spoke without looking at me. Do you ever think about what would have happened if people had known the truth? My chest tightened. What truth? I asked. She smiled at the screen. That you didn't leave him, she said softly. He left you. The room felt smaller. You begged him to stay, she continued. You told him you couldn't survive without him. I stood up so fast the chair scraped loudly against the floor. Why are you here? I demanded. She finally looked at me. Because you never told anyone, she said. Not the police. Not the court. Not even me. You let the story turn into something else. Her voice hardened. And I carried that silence with me. That night, I dreamed of the hallway from the video. But this time, I wasn't alone. Naomi was there too. Standing just outside the frame. Watching. I woke to the sound of whispering. At first, I thought it was the dream still clinging to me. But then I heard my name. I opened my door quietly. Naomi stood in the living room, phone pressed to her ear. She still has it, she was saying. I'm sure now. My heart slammed. I know, she continued. But I need more time. I stepped back, my foot creaking against the floor. She turned. Our eyes locked. She didn't hang up. She smiled. It's okay, she said into the phone. She's awake. She ended the call and walked toward me. You weren't supposed to hear that either, she said. My mouth felt dry. Who were you talking to? She stopped inches from me. Someone who wants the truth as badly as I do. If you're still here, make sure you're subscribed, because from this moment on, there is no turning back. I didn't ask any more questions after that. Not because I didn't want answers, but because I finally understood something crucial. Naomi wasn't improvising. She had a plan. And plans don't unravel easily when you pull on them too hard. So I did the opposite. I played along. The next morning, I made breakfast like nothing had happened. Eggs, toast, coffee, the smell filling the kitchen with something almost normal. Naomi watched me from the table, her chin resting on her hand, eyes sharp. "You're quiet today," she said. "Didn't sleep well," I replied. She smiled. Neither did I. We ate in silence. But I felt it, her attention sliding over me, noting every movement, every hesitation. Like she was cataloging my behavior for later. When I left for work, I checked my bag twice. When I came home, I checked my apartment 3 times. And still, things kept shifting. A drawer slightly open. A photo frame turned face down. My laptop moved a few inches to the left. She wanted me to know. That evening, she finally said it. "You should tell them." I froze. "Tell who?" "The truth," she said calmly. "Before someone else does." I laughed, a sharp, brittle sound. "There is no them, Naomi." She stood up slowly. "There always is." She walked into her room and came back with her suitcase. She opened it. Inside, beneath her clothes, were folders. Paper. USB drives. Printed screenshots. Evidence. My knees felt weak. "You've been collecting this?" I whispered. "For years," she replied. "Not just about you. About him. About what really happened after you split." I stared at her. "You said you hated him." "I did," she said. "Until I realized he was the only one telling the same story every time." Her words landed like a slap. "You're choosing him?" I asked. "I'm choosing the truth," she said. "And the truth doesn't care who it hurts." That night, I packed a bag. I didn't tell Naomi. I didn't slam doors or announce my escape. I waited until I heard her breathing slow through the thin walls. Then I stepped into the hallway. And stopped. She was standing there. Wide awake. "You're not leaving," she said gently. I swallowed. "I need air." She shook her head. "You need to remember." She reached into her pocket and pulled something out. "My phone." "You dropped this," she said. The screen lit up. A new message. Unknown number. "Tomorrow. Noon. We tell everything." I looked at Naomi. She nodded. "After tomorrow," she said, "we won't have to pretend anymore. If your heart is racing right now, you're exactly where you're supposed to be. Subscribe, like, and stay with me." I didn't sleep at all. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling while Naomi moved quietly through the apartment, like a ghost who knew exactly where every floorboard creaked. At some point, she stopped moving. That silence was worse than the footsteps. By morning, she acted like everything was normal. She brewed coffee. She played music softly from her phone. She even hummed again, that same low, careless hum that had followed me since the first day she arrived. "You ready for today?" she asked. "For what?" I said, even though I already knew. She smiled. "For the end." I tried to leave the apartment alone. She followed me to the door. "I'll walk with you," she said. "It's better if we arrive together." Outside, the air felt wrong, too sharp, too awake. Every passerby looked like a potential witness, or worse, a judge. As we walked, Naomi spoke calmly. "They contacted me first," she said. "Months ago. They were looking into old inconsistencies." My chest tightened. "You gave them my name." "I gave them the truth." "You gave them your version." She stopped walking and faced me. "No," she said. "I gave them the version that matches the evidence." We didn't make it to noon. Halfway down the block, my phone buzzed again. Another message from the unknown number. Change of plans. Naomi's smile faded for the first time. "Come alone." She looked at me sharply. "They're testing you," she said. "Don't mess this up." "I'm not going," I said. Her expression hardened. "You don't have that choice." That's when I saw it. A man across the street. Standing too still. Watching us. When his phone lifted slightly, aimed in our direction, my stomach dropped. Naomi leaned in close, her voice barely a whisper. "They've been watching you longer than you think." I turned and ran. I didn't know where I was going. I just knew I couldn't stay. I heard Naomi shout my name, not in panic, but in warning. I ducked into a crowded cafe, breath burning my lungs. I sat in a corner, shaking, pretending to scroll through my phone. Minutes passed. Then someone sat across from me. A woman. Older. Calm. "I'm sorry," she said softly. "I didn't want it to be like this." She slid a folder across the table. Inside were photos. Me. Him. The hallway. And one final image. Naomi. Standing beside him. Smiling. Before we continue, if you're still here, still breathing through this with me, take a second to like and subscribe. And tell me in the comments, what would you do if the person you trusted most was already standing on the other side? I didn't touch the folder. I stared at it like it might open itself, like the images inside might crawl out and force me to look. The woman across from me didn't rush me. That was the worst part. "They know where you are," she said quietly. "Running won't change that." I finally looked at her. "Who are you?" My voice barely held together. "Someone who's been cleaning up after the same man for a very long time." Her eyes flicked to the window. To the street. To the reflections moving across the glass. And after the people who protect him. My hands curled into fists beneath the table. "My sister?" I asked. She hesitated. "Just enough. Your sister made herself useful." Something inside me cracked open. She explained in pieces. Carefully. Like she was worried too much truth at once would break me. The investigation hadn't started with me. It started with him. With complaints that never stuck. Stories that changed just enough to confuse timelines. Evidence that vanished. And then Naomi. Young. Convincing. Willing to say she'd been afraid of me. Willing to say I'd been unstable. Obsessive. That I'd rewritten history to survive my own guilt. I laughed then. A sound so hollow it startled even me. "She watched me fall apart," I said. "She held my hair when I threw up. She told me I wasn't crazy." The woman nodded. That's why she was believable. I left the cafe through the back door. I didn't go home. I walked until my legs burned, my thoughts spiraling into places I didn't want to see. Every memory felt infected now. Every late-night conversation. Every shared secret. Every time Naomi had said, "I've got you." I realized something as the sun dipped lower. She hadn't just come for evidence. She came for permission. My phone buzzed. "Naomi." You didn't show up. I didn't reply. Another message. You're making this harder than it needs to be. Then one more. He's tired of waiting. My chest tightened. I typed back before I could stop myself. Me. So was I. The typing dots appeared instantly. You don't understand what you're doing. I almost laughed. I understand exactly what you did. No response. Minutes passed. Then my phone rang. Her name lit up the screen. I answered. You promised, she said. Her voice wasn't calm now. It was sharp. Fractured. You promised you'd protect me. I protected you my whole life, I said. You used that. Silence. Then, softly, he said you'd say that. That's when I knew. She wasn't in control anymore. That night, I checked into a cheap hotel under a false name. I locked the door. Then locked it again. And still. I felt watched. Around 3 a.m., my phone buzzed one last time. A photo. My apartment door. From the inside. If this part made your chest tighten, don't let go now. Subscribe. Like. Stay with me. I didn't go back to sleep after that photo. I sat on the edge of the hotel bed, staring at the door like it might dissolve if I blinked too long. My reflection in the dark TV screen looked unfamiliar. Older. Hollowed out. By morning, I had made a decision. If they wanted the truth, they were going to get it. But not the version Naomi had been feeding them. I contacted the woman from the cafe. She answered on the second ring. I'm ready, I said. But I'm not walking into a trap. There was a pause. Good, she replied. Neither am I. We agreed to meet somewhere public. Somewhere loud. Somewhere with cameras that didn't belong to anyone involved. As I walked there, I noticed the looks again. People pausing too long. Phones angled just slightly toward me. Reflections in windows that didn't match the pace of my steps. Paranoia, I told myself. But paranoia is just pattern recognition that hasn't been proven yet. The building we entered was cold and fluorescent. A conference room. Glass walls. No corners to hide in. Naomi was already there. She looked smaller than I remembered. Tired. Her eyes darted to the door when I walked in, then back to the man sitting beside her. I recognized him instantly. He hadn't aged the way I had. Still confident. Still composed. Still wearing the same expression he always used when he knew someone else would take the fall. Naomi didn't look at me. I told her you'd come, he said. I didn't come for you, I replied. The woman from the cafe sat across from them. Let's begin, she said. They played the footage again. The hallway. The argument. The moment everyone always paused on. Only this time, it didn't stop where it usually did. The clip continued. A detail I had never seen before. A reflection in the glass at the end of the hall. A second figure. Naomi. Watching. My breath caught. The room went quiet. She finally looked at me then. I didn't know he'd hurt you, she whispered. I swear. You watched, I said. And you did nothing. Tears slid down her face. He told me you were dangerous, she said. That you were lying to me. That you needed help. The man beside her leaned back, unfazed. And she believed me, he said. Because I gave her something you never did. I turned to him slowly. What? A purpose. The woman from the cafe shut her folder. That's enough for today, she said. We have what we need. The man smiled. You really don't. He stood. And that's when the alarms went off. Lights flashed. Voices echoed down the hall. And in the chaos, Naomi reached for me. Her hand shook. I didn't mean for it to go this far, she said. I pulled away. You came here knowing exactly how far it would go. As they took him away, Naomi collapsed into a chair. She didn't follow him. She didn't look relieved. She looked empty. When it was over, the woman approached me. You were right to run, she said. But this isn't finished. I nodded. I already knew. Because as we walked out, my phone buzzed again. A new message. Unknown number. You chose the wrong truth. Naomi didn't come with me when I left that building. She stayed behind. Sitting alone. Hands folded in her lap. Eyes fixed on a spot on the floor like it held the last version of herself she could still recognize. I didn't look back. Some goodbyes don't need words. They placed me somewhere safe. That's what they called it. A small apartment. Temporary. Anonymous. White walls that smelled like disinfectant and silence. They told me not to contact anyone. They told me Naomi would be handled separately. That phrase followed me into my sleep. Days passed. Then a week. Then 2. The world kept moving without me. I watched it through a window I never opened. Every knock on the door made my heart race. Every unfamiliar sound made me rehearse exits in my head. I started recording myself again. Not videos. Audio. My voice, late at night, speaking into the dark. I talked about the hallway. About the moment I realized love could be weaponized. About the sister I lost long before she walked back into my life. One night, as I replayed one of the recordings, something caught my attention. A faint sound beneath my voice. Breathing. I froze. I replayed it again. There it was. Not mine. The next morning, I found an envelope slipped under my door. No name. No return address. Inside was a single page. She never stopped choosing him. My hands shook. I knew who sent it. And I knew who it was about. I confronted the woman from the cafe. She didn't deny it. She's been cooperating, she said carefully. But cooperation doesn't mean honesty. Where is she? I asked. Somewhere she can't hurt you. I laughed bitterly. She already did. That night, my phone rang. A number I hadn't seen in weeks. I answered without thinking. I'm sorry, Naomi said. Her voice sounded distant. Thin. They said if I talked to you, it would help. Help who? I asked. A pause. You, she said. I think. I closed my eyes. You chose him again, I said. No, she whispered. I chose myself. That hurt more than anything else she'd done. After the call, I realized something. The unknown number hadn't texted again. The pressure had eased. They had what they wanted. And I was no longer useful. That's when I understood the final cruelty. Naomi hadn't just come for the truth. She came to make sure she wasn't alone in the fallout. If this part hit you in the chest, don't look away now. Subscribe. Like. Stay. The silence after everything ended was louder than the chaos that came before it. No more messages. No more unknown numbers. No footsteps outside my door. Just quiet. The kind that forces you to finally hear yourself think. They told me I could leave after 30 days. No ceremony. No apology. Just a sentence delivered like a receipt. You're free to resume your life. I almost laughed. I didn't recognize the life they were handing back to me. I went back to my apartment. The locks had been changed. The air felt stale, like the space had been holding its breath without me. Naomi's room was empty. Too empty. No suitcase. No stray hair in the sink. No sign she'd ever been there. Except one thing. My journal. Placed neatly on the bed. Open. To the page she'd bent. I sat down slowly. My hands trembled as I read the words I had written years ago, the ones about guilt, about survival, about the lie I told myself to keep breathing. At the bottom of the page, in handwriting that wasn't mine, was a single sentence. I wanted you to be as alone as I was. I closed the journal. Something inside me finally settled. Weeks passed. The case wrapped itself up quietly. He took a plea. The details were sealed. Naomi's name never appeared publicly. She vanished from the story the way she'd vanished from my life before. Clean. Convenient. People asked how I was doing. I learned how to answer. I'm better. I'm healing. I'm focusing on the future. None of it was a lie. None of it was the whole truth. One evening, as I sat by the window watching the city lights flicker on, my phone buzzed. A message. From Naomi. No caller ID. I hope you're okay. I stared at it for a long time. Then I typed. Me. I am. The typing dots appeared. Then disappeared. No reply. That was the last time I heard from her. But sometimes, late at night, when the apartment is too quiet, I still hear her humming in my memory. Soft. Careless. Like someone who never planned on staying. If you're still with me, we're almost at the end. Subscribe. Like. Don't leave now. I thought the ending would feel louder. I thought there would be relief. Or triumph. Or at least a clean line between before and after. But endings like this don't announce themselves. They settle. I started walking again. No destination. Just movement. I learned the rhythm of my neighborhood in a new way, the woman who watered her plants every morning at the same time, the man who always crossed the street before reaching the corner, the flicker of a light in a third-floor window that never stayed on long. Life continuing, indifferent to what it had taken. I stopped recording my voice. At some point, I realized I didn't need to convince myself anymore. The truth was no longer something I had to rehearse. It simply existed. Months later, I found something in a box I hadn't opened since before Naomi called. A photograph. The two of us as kids, sitting on the floor, backs against the couch. Her head resting on my shoulder. My arm wrapped around her without thinking. I stared at it for a long time. Trying to remember when protection became possession. When loyalty became leverage. When love learned how to wait. I put the photo back in the box. Some memories don't deserve daylight. People still ask about her sometimes. Do you talk to your sister? I pause. Just long enough to feel the weight of the word. No, I say. But I know where she is. That's the truth. She's in every room where silence stretches too far. In every moment I double-check a lock. In every instinct that whispers pay attention. One night, long after midnight, I received an email. No subject line. No name. Just a sentence. You survived the version of yourself that believed her. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. Because survival isn't loud either. It's quiet. It's choosing not to reopen doors. It's learning that forgiveness doesn't always mean access. Sometimes, it just means distance. I let my sister stay with me. And in doing so, I learned something no one ever warns you about. The people who know your story best don't always want to save you from it. Sometimes, they want to stand inside it and make sure you never leave alone. If this story stayed with you, if it made you uneasy in that quiet way, don't forget to subscribe and like. These stories live because you listen.